Welcome back to the Red Pearls of Borneo, an investigation game where we look into the case of a family that was presumed lost due to the war, but it seems that something different may have occurred. Last time we've met the whole cast of characters that was present on this plantation in Borneo, and the event we arrived at was an explosion at the clubhouse. So we should definitely investigate what was that all about. During the conversation at the veranda at 3 o'clock, Teresa mentions that Edward Bone, that her ex-husband is looking for, and Dieter, the German neighbor, are together at the clubhouse where later the explosion occurs. So we should look at the two of them being potentially together in the clubhouse at that time, and then that hopefully leads us to what happened there. Clubhouse, a rustic version of a London gentleman's club, complete with billiard table, other copies of Punch and the Illustrated London News. There's a bar serving gin fates. So at 3 o'clock we were expecting Edward to be there, and I was expecting the German man Dieter as well, but I guess he can't be here because at 3 o'clock he's at Jungle entrance, only just arrived, and messing with the fence for some reason. So maybe at the time Edward is here alone? No, he's not. Unless we're to assume that they meet there at 4, because that would allow both of them to be there. Well, that's not a good opening then, because I thought that's how we were going to find our way into the clubhouse. So potentially we need to investigate more of some of the other events before we understand who was there at what time. Because right now it seems like we're missing some sort of information. One thing I wanted to return to is previously by using the telephone object, we learned that Kanan was in the study at 2 a.m. But at the time we didn't have Jiro identified, and from the phone conversation we know that he was there with Jiro. So can we now fully reconstruct that scene by saying Kanan and Jiro were at the study at 2 a.m? Yes. So now we should be able to see the whole conversation. Kanan enters. Jiro Tanaka peeks in, not believing what he's seeing. Kanan, you see? I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who to trust. So that was the part we could see. What Kanan was saying we were able to get access to because he was touching the telephone, but not what Jiro was doing. Jiro Tanaka checks for pulse. None. He sees the empty blue vial and pockets it. Terrified. He places his opium pipe on the floor next to the victim's hand. Okay, so there's not only Kanan and Jiro in this room, there's also a dead body. Jiro Tanaka. Accident. It has to look like an accident. It's better that way. We can say it was an overdose. Bonfire knows about the affair. He'll hang me. Okay, whose affair with who? I mean, there was few things happening between the owner of the plantation and potentially his lady solicitor, and potentially the German man and Teresa, the plantation owner's ex-wife, if I've read that right the last time. Kanan, stop worrying, Jiro. I'll take care of it. Kanan picks up the rotary telephone. Yes, that's when he calls someone, but we don't understand the language. Damn, I don't speak Malay or Dayak or whatever language that is. I'll need to try and transfer what is being said phonetically and reach to Armand in Oxford. He should be able to translate it for me. Now I just need to concentrate and listen closely. That's not from our character. That's the psychic listening to this whole situation from her home back in London. Yeah, he continues speaking and puts down the phone. They're on their way, you should go. So I assume that's like whatever, the police or whatever guard they have. Jiro, what do we tell the others? What about Loon? She will be devastated. Little Mem is stronger than you think, and she has us. Jiro. I'll go see Teresa. That's where I'll be if you need to find me. Kanan. What are you talking about? You can't do that. Forget her. It's 2 a.m. Just go to bed and don't let anyone see you. Jiro Tanaka takes off his cap and wipes the sweat and tears from his face. Jiro. Alright, yes, you're right. Kanan. I'll wait for the reinforcements here. You go. Jiro Tanaka walks out. He's route back to his quarters, taking him past the veranda. Okay, so someone's dead, but it's obviously not the two of them, not Loon, not Teresa, and not Mr. Bonfire. It's probably not Lucas, because he was a new arrival, so I don't think anyone would care as deeply. But it also almost made it seem like it was Jiro having an affair with someone, so what is going on here? Well, we've got a couple new items, so let's see if we get any reads on them that lead us to any new events or any new information. We don't know who the blue vial belongs to, so that's not gonna do it, but I'm pretty sure it's said in the scene itself that this was Jiro's pipe. Yes. So of course we know he was using it in the study at 2, but are we not getting any other sense from it? But since it belongs to him, and obviously he puts it down in that study scene, but it's possible he has it with him the entire rest of the events. So if we can match him to certain rooms, we should be able to get glimpses of what he was doing in that room, even if we don't know other people that were with him, if I understand correctly how am I supposed to be using those items. So I have to scan through the timeline for any other mentions of where he may have been. I missed this mention here back on the veranda. I was reading the fact that a Bone was in the clubhouse with Dieter, the German man, but I missed the next line that said Loon saw Mr. Tanaka go there as well. So it actually might be the 3 of them in there together at 4 o'clock because Dieter is somewhere else at 3. Although it might be Edward and Tanaka in the clubhouse at 3, and that's what I was missing? Yes, okay. I was almost there, and then I just missed that next line that gave me the information. But that's fine, because that meant I got to explore some of the item links and found extra things. Edward Bonfire sits alone in the dim light of the clubhouse. On the table before him is a jar of chandu, a small oil lamp and his pipe. Edward, patience bone, nearly there. He dips a long steel needle into the dark paste, pulling out a pea-sized globe. Holding it over the lamp's flame, he watches the opium bubble. He rolls the warm substance against the flat surface of the pipe bowl, shaping into a small cone. Finally, he places the pill onto the ceramic bowl. All right, where are my boys? Jiro Tanaka enters the room. Edward, speak of the devil. Have you seen her, Dieter? Jiro, we're starting with a hit? I won't be able to think straight. Can't we just finish the job first? Edward, stop worrying. It's all ready. 1 hit won't hurt you. Jiro, do remember, I'm rigging up this still for you as a favor. I have better things I should be getting on with. Edward, come on, man, stop being a bore. Jiro, fine. 1 hit. Edward, good man. Here, take a seat. Edward Bonfire moves to the wooden bench, reclining on his side. He props his head on a pillow. He holds the pipe bowl over the lamp, positioning the cooked pill just above the heat, careful not to touch the flame. As the opium vaporizes, releasing a sweet aroma, Edward Bonfire takes a long pull. He holds it, eyes closing in ecstasy. He scrapes the charcoal-like dross from the bowl and mixes it with a fresh dab of chandu. Dross is a charcoal-like toxic residue left after smoking opium. It's often scraped out and remixed with fresh opium or consumed by addicts who can't afford refined chandu. Okay, we're learning a lot about people's use of opium at the time. Edward, waste not, want not. He hands the pipe to Jiro Tanaka. Jiro Tanaka mimics the ritual, inhaling deeply. A look of profound relaxation washes over him. Okay, so that's what was happening at 3, and then I kind of assumed that Dieter joins them afterwards, and again, I tried it previously, but I didn't know Jiro was with them there potentially. No. Okay, that's still not it. But we can try the pipe in the room, and yes, that confirms Jiro was still there at 4 o'clock. The air in the clubhouse is thick with sweet smoke. Edward Bonfire and Jiro Tanaka lie motionless on the benches, eyes glazed. Okay, so is it still only Edward and Jiro in there by themselves? Dieter doesn't join them. Yes. The air in the clubhouse is thick with sweet smoke. So it's the same thing as when using the pipe at the start, but now the rest of it actually includes Edward. Edward. Jiro, do you still regret getting pushed into this? Jiro. Quiet. Minutes pass in silence. A tentative knock at the door echoes through the haze. A servant peeks in. Tuan Bone? Tuan Basar is asking for you. He's waiting in the library. Okay, so last time I was getting confused about the whole Tuan, is this a person, is this them speaking about their medication, but it seems like it might be some sort of like an honorific title maybe they reference people with. In the plantations, Tuan is a standard address for officials. Tuan Besar, or the Big Master, is the head manager in charge of the entire estate. In this case, Kanan is referring to Jeremiah Goodwill. Okay, that explains it. And she even tells us that even though we can't say who this person is, this is actually Kanan speaking about Jeremiah. In that very first scene in the game when they say Tuan Bon is waiting for you at the library, they do mean Edward Bonfire. But then I got confused because at some point there was a reference to Tuan as the malaria medication, unless I've just misread that. Edward Bonfire groans, shielding his eyes from the outside light. Edward, tell him I'm indisposed. Kanan, he said it's urgent, Tuan, about the perils. Edward sighs heavily. All right, tell him I'm coming. The servant bows and retreats. So Edward leaves, and therefore it's just Jiro unless someone joins him for 5 o'clock. I do want to go back and see what was it with the whole Tuan medication that was confusing me. Yes, here in the veranda at 3 o'clock. It says Teresa McIntyre takes a pill from her purse and swallows it. It must be her Tuan's dose for the days. And that then talks about quinine. So I wasn't misreading it, but I'm still not quite understanding why this is a reference to malaria medication, but it's also how they refer to people. Unless they mean it like the officials are getting the dose of malaria medication, so it's their Tuan's dose, but the same privilege wasn't granted to like the workers, right? No one cared. They didn't give them malaria medication. Maybe that's what this means. I'm not sure it's even like super important other than knowing that this actually refers to people, but I want to solve my own confusion. Okay, so in the next scene, again, we can say Jiro's there with his pipe to get a little glimpse. Jiro Tanaka is alone at the clubhouse. Jiro, Shimata. My head, stupid idea, stupid idea. Right, pull yourself together, Jiro, focus. If I don't get this bloody still working, Tuan Bone will never let me hear the end of it. Jiro Tanaka rolls up his sleeves, picks up a wrench and approaches the makeshift distillery equipment. Okay, is that what explodes? Because he was not in the best condition to be working. Okay, but I think now that we know that he was alone, we have to go back and just pick him without the pipe, because that actually fills the event. Doing it with the items just like a partial fill? Yes. So does that give us anything new? Just extra scene description, like he's looking at the items, like copper pipes, pressure cooker. Yes, I mean, pressure cooker would definitely be able to explode if handled improperly. Edward Bonfire and Dieter for Guntram can be heard laughing just outside the door. Okay, so Dieter might just only be on his way to the clubhouse. So he was in different places between appearing at 3 and now that it's 5. But they're not inside. He might come inside in the next hour, which, again, we can see what Jiro and the pipe are doing at the clubhouse at 6 p.m. Jiro Tanaka, tightening a valve. It's coming along. Just finishing the condenser coil. It's crude but effective. Pour it in. Okay, so he's not alone. He's talking to someone. And then yes, Dieter for Guntram pours. Okay, I'm gonna just skip back then. So from here, yes, we get Jiro talking. It explicitly tells us that Dieter von Guntram is here, but Jiro also says distillation takes time to unbone. So even though he was asked to go to the library to talk to Jeremiah, it seems like he's returned. So we can now go back and put all 3 of them in the clubhouse so we get the full memory. There we go. Edward Bonfire and Dieter von Guntram strut into the room. Dieter von Guntram is waving a bottle of corn brand around in the air, which we learned was a German type of vodka. Edward Bonfire. Aha! The master craftsman at work. How goes the enterprise, Jiro? Jiro, tightening a valve. It's coming along, just finishing the condenser coil. The setup is marvel of improvisation. A large pressure cooker sits atop a gas burner, connected to a water-cooled bucket, acting as a condenser. Dieter. Wunderbar. It looks strictly scientific. Jiro. It's crude but effective. Pour it in. Dieter von Guntram pours the clear spirit into the pressure cooker. Jiro Tanaka seals the lid and ignites the burner. They watch in anticipation. Slowly, a few clear drops drip from the copper tube into a jar. Edward. Is that it? A trickle? We'll be here all night. Jiro. Distillation takes time to unbond. You can't rush physics. Edward. Nonsense! More heat, more pressure equals more speed, or it equals explosions. Edward Bonfire reaches for the gas dial. Jiro. No, don't touch that. Edward. Just a tad more. Edward cranks the flame. The cooker begins to shudder violently. Jiro. Get down! The lid blows off with deafening roar, filling the room with steam and alcohol vapor. Okay, so that explains the whole explosion situation. It was them just not obeying any safety rules on what they were doing. So presumably they're still here at 7 p.m. But then from the veranda scene at the same time, we know that Jeremiah and Lucas set off to go to the clubhouse, but there's also a question of Kanan because they're like, where is he? Maybe he's already there. So there's gonna be quite a few people in there at 7. Because yeah, if Jeremiah and Lucas run in there, but that's not all of them, so potentially Kanan also there? No, okay. So that's incorrect. But instead we can still try Jiro's pipe. And even Jiro's pipe is not giving us anything, so whatever happens after the explosion, they may have just run outside and therefore are no longer counted as being inside the clubhouse. So for now, this is where the thread ends for our clubhouse exploration. So I think we just have to go back and look at our timeline and maybe track the little bits and pieces that we left behind, right? Because each of those numbers mean there are clues that we haven't then used to discover something new. And if we go all the way back to the start, right, the study scene with Jeremiah Goodwill, what we get from it is that Bone is waiting for Jeremiah at the library. So high potential that in the next hour at 5, that's where Edward and Jeremiah meet. So let's go to the library. And then we go at 5 and we have Jeremiah and Edward available to us. And here's their meeting. Jeremiah Goodwill and Edward Bonfire enter the library. Jeremiah Goodwill opens the cigar box on the ornate ivory table, handing out a cigar to Edward Bonfire and lighting it with his lighter, a new item for our collection. It has the unmistakable click of a Dunhill lift arm. Jeremiah Goodwill then puts it back in his vest pocket. Okay, so similarly to Jiro's pipe, the lighter obviously is an item he would keep on himself, so we may be able to just get a vibe of the room where Jeremiah was to then make further discoveries. They are soon surrounded by smoke. Jeremiah. The whole batch of pearls has no Orient bone. That's the verdict. Edward. But they have a lot of Orient in them. They're not glassy. I can see the luster. They're trying to rip you off. Jeremiah. I know what you're saying, but everyone I've seen agrees. That red swirl that appeared in all our pearls means they might well just be a piece of rock. They're worthless. They just cannot use them as matter of pearl jewelry. Edward. What about the shells though? They're still good. There's more value in the shells with the kind of volume you have. Jeremiah. They won't touch the shells. They're scared our pearls are contaminated with a curse. And the ones who don't believe that think it's chemical warfare from the Japanese to kill us all off. Edward. I'm telling you, Jerry, they're right. It's a curse. First the tobacco business drying up, now the oysters gaining an ominous red swirl. Jeremiah extinguishes his cigar and stares sternly at Edward. Don't be ridiculous, man. Edward Bonfire gets his hand in his pocket and throws a bunch of pearls at Jeremiah. So now we have pearls as an item as well. Edward, look at them. Just look at them. They look like the devil's work. We're finished. It's the Brooke Raja's bomb, I tell you. So Brooke Raja, the British part of Borneo was divided into 3 territories. Sarawak, which was ruled by the Brooke family, known as the White Rajas, British North Borneo, which was ruled by the British North Borneo Chartered Company, and Brunei, which was a British protectorate where the Sultan still ruled. The bomb was the spiritual and medicinal Bornean shaman. They were highly respected and were often called upon to treat the sick and injured as well as to perform more spiritual rituals. Okay, so he's saying like the Raja's shaman cursed them? He's trying to drive us away. They've wanted this land for years, and the Chartered Company doesn't care now. They're after rubber and Paimolo gold mines. Jeremiah stares at the pearls rolling on the floor, then at Edward. The company cares, Bone, but they're preoccupied. We all should be. This isn't a curse, it's geopolitical instability. The Japanese threat is real. Europe is in economic turmoil with the rise of Nazism. That's why the markets are spooked, not because of some witch doctor. Edward. You're blind, Jerry. You're too far removed from it all. Sitting here in your ivory tower. Have you seen the green mist on the horizon? How the hell do you explain that? He's been getting closer for weeks now. Jeremiah. Or maybe you're the one who's blind. You don't see what's going on out there, spending all day in the clubhouse high on opium. Edward. If it's not a curse, then it's the Triad. The Chinese Triad was a highly organized criminal enterprise in Borneo and managed the island's illicit economy. They've done something to our stash, conspiring with the merchants to devalue the pearl so they can buy us out cheap. Jeremiah. Enough. You're being paranoid. Stop this nonsense. We need a plan to save the plantation, not ghost stories or paranoid conspiracy theories. Okay, so, I mean, we've learned last time that, yes, they were trying to pivot from the tobacco plantation to pearls because, yeah, that business was no longer good. And then the red pearls is because they're having some sort of red swirl in them. We do have stuff about the pearls in the glossary, I'm not sure how deep we need to be getting into the glossary in order to be able to actually do the investigation. I mean, like, I'm sure it's interesting historical information, so I'm not saying don't read it, but it's quite a bit of stuff. Here they talk about the luster, the orient. It's the most important factor. It wasn't just a shine, it was the way light seemed to glow from inside the layers of nacre. A pearl with glassy surface but no depth was worth little. Yeah, so obviously pearls have a very specific look, and I guess they all don't come out naturally looking like that. Some of them are less valuable. But yes, nothing here really explains this whole, oh, there is red in the pearls, right? That's not something that's part of the historical information, so it's probably something else that's just part of this story we're investigating. Was it a curse? Was it a natural occurrence? What does it mean? Jeremiah. Enough. Stop, you're being paranoid. Stop this nonsense. We need a plan to save the plantation, not ghost stories or paranoid conspiracy theories. We'll meet Cynthia after dinner. We need to go over the financials and see what our options are. That's why I brought her back with me today. Edward. Of course it is. Jeremiah. Anyway, it's 6 p.m. Time for a sundowner. Are you coming? Edward. They're waiting for me at the clubhouse. I'll join you after. Okay, so they split up at 6 p.m. and yes, Edward goes back to the clubhouse and Jeremiah goes to the veranda, which we know already. We have them there in both those situations. Okay, so what about our two new items then? So we've got the lighter that Jeremiah was using, so he's presumably the owner. And then the pearls, well, Edward threw them. The red looks like blood swirling inside of them. Yes, so they are looking quite red, which you would think people would be like, oh, that's rare, but no, apparently they think it's cursed. So if Edward threw them, are they his? Yes. Again, so they're items that they would be just carrying on themselves, so we can try and use them to snoop out some information if we don't have everyone in a room. But yes, I need to look at my timeline and basically figure out what's next, right? Where are those little numbers all leading me? So I guess let's start from the top. There is one unidentified link from the boathouse at 4 p.m. Well, I guess what we learned from it is that Kanan goes to the kitchen to find Aisyah. So is he potentially in the kitchen at then 5 p.m.? Well, let's see. If we go to the kitchen at 5 and say it's Kanan and Aisyah, yes, that aligns. Aisyah enters the kitchen through the window and quickly closes it behind her. She puts on an apron hastily, her face slick with perspiration. Aisyah can hear Kanan and Jeremiah Goodwill talking in the corridor. She gestures to the other servant who is in the kitchen to leave. She grabs some herbs and a kitchen knife and starts chopping. Kanan comes in. Okay, so she was somewhere. And then I know at the very start when she was in the kitchen alone, someone else comes along, tells her that the German man is here, and she just says, I will meet her in the usual place. Like, what's that about, right? So she's sneaking out to see him. And that's why it takes him a while to get from the jungle entrance to the clubhouse, because he meets her. Kanan, the little ma'am wants you in the guest house. Fresh towels for the new arrival. Aisyah, without looking up. I'm busy. Why do you not ask one of the other girls? Kanan, because she asked for you, by name. Aisyah, Ma'am McIntyre ordered a tray of small choppings for the veranda. I don't have time for your demands. Small chops is a local term for snacks to serve with sundowners. They're designed to be salty and pungent to stimulate the palate and encourage drinking. Kanan, angry. She cannot tell you what to do. She hasn't been the true mistress of this estate for years, whether she fancies it or not. Besides, the gin will have taken its usual hold soon enough, like every evening. Aisyah, we shall see. Kanan, just do as you're told for once. Aisyah slams her knife on the table and turns around to face Kanan. Aisyah, stop acting like this. I can't leave with you. Your plan is foolish and I do not love you. Can you please understand? I shall carve my own luck. Kanan, just meet me at the workers' quarters when you're done. Okay, so he's in love with her. There seems to be a lot of that going on. Various people in love with other people that are on the plantation, which I guess if you're all just stuck here together, that might be something that's just happening because there's no one else here. Kanan turns and marches out, slamming the door. Aisyah waits a beat, then wipes her hands. She opens a cupboard and pulls out a stack of fresh towels and set of white clothes. From the kitchen? Like, aren't they? We're in the kitchen right now, so they just store the towels and clean clothes in the kitchen? She heads out towards the guest house. So from here we get Kanan and Aisyah meeting in the workers' quarters after she's done, which is she goes to the guest house, well, presumably either in the same hour or after, right? Because she doesn't appear in the guest house. They do that thing of like, oh, she just comes through the door, but she's not a character there, which means she's free at the time. Maybe the next hour at 6, she and Kanan are in the workers' quarters. So this is now a new addition to our map. A row of timber barracks where the servants live. Yes, so if we switch to 6, are Aisyah and Kanan there? Yes, they are. In the shadow of the quarters, Kanan grabs Aisyah's arm as she tries to pass. Aisyah, please, listen to me one last time. We leave at first light. Aisyah, wrenching her arm free. I'm listening to nothing from you, Kanan. I have work to do. Kanan. The Japanese are coming. Not maybe, not soon. They are here. They have plans for this place. For the Tuans. Everyone who stays will be slaughtered. But we are invisible to them. If we go now, we live. I love you, Aisyah. I'll not see you butchered for the sake of these white ghosts. Aisyah. She stopped, looking at him with cold contempt. You think I need your protection? I have my own plans, Kanan. Plans already in motion that offer far more safety than running into the jungle with a deserter. Kanan. Deserter? I'm trying to save us. Aisyah. You're abandoning your post. You are a Yaga who is fleeing at the first sign of real danger. I have never loved you. I see you for what you are. A frightened pup playing soldier. Kanan. Voice trembling with rage. What can I do? Tell me, how do I prove I am worth something to you? Aisyah. You want to help? Then be blind. Tonight, whatever you see, whatever you hear, you do nothing. You say nothing. Kanan. What wickedness are you planning? Aisyah. That is not for you to know. Kanan. He grabs her shoulder, shaking her. Tell me. Aisyah just stares at him, her eyes cold and unyielding. Kanan's hand flies up and strikes her across the face. Aisyah doesn't flinch. She slowly touches her cheek, her eyes burning with hate. You shall rue this night. When the end comes, Kanan, I'll make sure you are the very first to bleed. She walks away back to the kitchen, leaving him shaking in the darkness when suddenly an explosion can be heard coming from the direction of the clubhouse. Alamak, what in the blazes was that? Kanan rushes to the clubhouse to investigate. Okay, interesting. Like, he knows danger's coming and he's like, oh, let's run away together. But she's like, no, I have my own plan. And it's something that will happen tonight, this night. And she's like, do nothing. So is she having someone come and rescue her, but in a way that is potentially dangerous to whoever else is here? And that gives us two more things to follow up. I assume one of them is the fact that Kanan does go to the clubhouse and she returns to the kitchen. So then at 7 p.m. we can say that she's in the kitchen? Yes, by herself. Aisyah stands by the sink, pressing a wet cloth to her cheek. She hisses in pain. Curse him. Curse that wretched, frightened man. She glances out the window into the coming dark. A figure is moving furtively across the grounds, from the clubhouse towards the jungle entrance. It's Kanan. What is he doing? He's not... Her eyes widen in realization. God in heaven, Kanan. You utter fool. She throws the cloth into the basin and sprints out the back door. Okay, so that gives us... Both her and Kanan are running towards the jungle entrance. So if we switch to 8 p.m. and we can say Kanan and Aisyah are now at jungle entrance? No, okay. There is something else going on that we need to uncover, but that was a good thread to see. So back to the observation deck where the various women were talking. In the conversation at 5, Cynthia says, She has to leave to go to the library to deal with some ledgers before meeting with Jeremiah later, which means at 6 she might be in the library. So yeah, 6 currently is empty, and actually she's the only person that's unoccupied at that time, because I guess everyone else is running around near the clubhouse, so we can just place her there. Cynthia Seville enters the library. She sees pearls scattered across the floor. Yes, that's from the previous conversation that happened there. She kneels down and carefully picks them up, inspecting the reddish swirl in their luster. She shakes her head and places them into her blouse pocket. Okay, so we know that after this scene, she has them, so once again we could potentially use them to track her down. I keep saying this, that this is a thing we can use, but then I've only used this a little bit with Jiro, so definitely something to do. I just keep saying that, oh, I still have numbers on the various scenes, so I should go track down what those mean first, whether I can trace them or not. She walks over to the bookshelf and selects several heavy volumes. She sits at the desk, opens the briefcase she brought with her, and spreads out a series of ledgers. She lights a cigarette and begins to work, her brows furrowed in concentration. She runs a finger down the column of expenses, her hemorrhaging money left, right, and center. How much for drinks and opium? She slams the ledger shut and rubs her temple again. And we add a document, Plantation Expenses 1941. Cynthia. I really must go and make myself presentable for dinner. It is wretchedly hot, and I couldn't possibly appear in these damn things. Just as she is about to leave, an explosion shakes the house. Cynthia stands still for a moment, then once everything seems to have settled, she resumes her walk to the guest house calmly. Okay, so she's like, whatever, explosions, I have clothes to change. So she is then at the guest house in the next hour, but just quickly first, what was this new document? Okay, so this is the first time I've actually added a document, because the first document I have is just the letter we received at the start. So there's various expenses here, tobacco operation, oyster farm, stables, but we do have the croquet lawn as a new location we can discover from him. There was no mention, like it was mentioned before as a thing when Lucas was talking about it, but there's so far been no mention of anyone going there or being there. But then we have some places where it's like someone's gonna meet someone, but places unspecified, so that could be one of those things. But yes, they're spending quite a bit on the various entertainments and substances. And yes, their expenses are £1,447, and they're only bringing in £320, so their books are definitely not balancing here. Insolvency imminent, asset liquidation recommended immediately. Yes, they have nothing. There's barely any money coming in, and the costs are huge. So who knows? Maybe they didn't die. Maybe they burned the place down and just escaped to live somewhere else to not deal with their debt. So yes, here's the lawn we just unlocked. But yes, we can go to the guest house and say Cynthia got there at 7 after leaving the library. Yes, there she is. Cynthia Seville is heading to the guest room to freshen up before dinner. As she steps into the wash house, she feels a large stone wobble beneath her heel. Oh, is she gonna collect the pouch that Lucas left there? Curious, she kneels and presses it loose. Underneath, she finds a heavy leather pouch. She opens it. Inside is a revolver and a small glass bottle with a Biohazard label. What on earth? She pockets the Biohazard sample and the revolver. I'm sorry, but if you're finding a bottle that says Biohazard, don't pick that up. Like, who knows what that is? She takes the empty pouch and tosses it into the tall grass behind the wash house. Cynthia showers and changes into a fresh dress and walks out as Kanan runs past her in a panic. She watches impassively as he sprints from the workers' quarters towards the source of the blast, albeit a tad late. Yes, exactly. Like, she's already heard the blast, went to have a shower and everything, and Kanan is only now like, oh yeah, something exploded. But I guess it's because he was having his meeting with Aisyah, the servant girl. Cynthia Seville smooths her dress calmly and heads towards the dining room. Okay, so that's where they're all gonna meet for dinner, because I think that was mentioned, the dinner, a few times, but I was like, where they would be having it, I don't have a room for it. That's quite likely where a lot of people are gonna be at the same time. But yes, the Biohazard sample, of course it came from the pouch, right? So I was like, oh, someone will pick this up later when we saw him hide it, and he did. But now the pouch is basically discarded behind the guest house, so it may no longer be usable, but instead the Biohazard sample is also owned by Lucas. And we know Cynthia has it, so again, back to the whole, we may be able to track some things she did with it, but that presumes she didn't like give it to someone else shortly after. Well, let's check out the dining room then. A grand hall where a large fan overhead stirs the stagnant air. Well, I mean, if we do Cynthia and the Biohazard sample here, we may get some hints as to who else is here with her, even though it's probably just about anyone else. Yes, so she brings it to dinner. So yes, it tells us Jeremiah's here, and she says some things, and then Rose and Vitalina. Then she speaks to Lucas as well. So yes, it's a way to basically find out about other characters in a room, even if it doesn't give us the whole story. So yes, from that we can click Cynthia, Jeremiah, Lucas, Rose was there. I mean, presumably Loon is there as well for dinner, and Teresa, right? They're all people who live in the house. But then Vitalina was also mentioned, and so Edward would possibly be there with her. That's not it. But then we also know that Jeremiah may have his lighter on him, so that may give us extra information. Like, I'm not reading all of this right now just because I will do it when I get the full scene. Okay, so that tells us Lucas is there, Cynthia's there, Jiro is there as well. So do we do Jeremiah, Loon, Lucas, Teresa, Edward, Vitalina, Cynthia, Jiro, and Rose in the dining room at 8? I guess Dieter may also be there, right? He's a guest and he's been around. There we go, that's everyone. The dining room is crowded. The air is thick with smoke and the smell of roasted pork. Jeremiah, I want to welcome our unusual guest to our little gathering. I must admit I was very suspicious of the young man when he arrived, but one can see the true character of a man in his actions. I must say, I was pleasantly surprised by the way he reacted to our little incident. I can see he has heart by how he protected Loon Goodwill, and gumption with how he didn't hesitate to run to the clubhouse. Of course, it turned out to be a false alarm, but he did not know that at the time. Jeremiah picks up his glass. Anyway, I just wanted to give a toast to the young man and welcome him to the plantation. To Lucas, cheers. Lucas, cheers, Mr. Goodwill, thank you. I feel very welcome and honored. Jeremiah Goodwill sits back down and first turns to Cynthia Seville. I hope we have made you feel welcome so far, Miss Seville. Cynthia, oh yes, everyone has been wonderfully welcoming, thank you. And did you manage to reach out to your colleagues to let them know you've arrived safely? I'll let the operator send out a telegram. I believe that will be good enough. Splendid. Let's enjoy the evening then. Cheers. Jeremiah turns to Jiro. Jiro, sorry about Bon and Herr von Guntram. Don't feel obliged to help them in their harebrained schemes next time. They can be quite persistent and persuasive. Jiro, don't think of it, sir. It was my own errors that led to the incident. I'll be more careful next time. Further down, Lucas is flanked by Edward Bonfire and Dieter for Guntram. Edward, so Mr. Sterling, what exactly is bringing you to this side of the world? Pardon me for being blunt, but you look like a new chum, and only an old hand would be sailing these dangerous seas as anything but passenger. Lucas, believe me, sir, I'm quite an old hand here, despite appearances. Lucas Sterling rolls up his sleeve and straightens his arm. His hand is trembling. Lucas, I don't like to admit it, but I have the tremors. Too much queening, pointing towards the women. And if we weren't in such lovely company, I would show you my jungle shin. Edward laughs a hearty laugh and slaps Lucas Sterling hard on the back, sending him flying forward. Good man, good man. I'm impressed you managed to keep the sallow away, I must say. Sallow is a term used to describe the yellowish skin that develops on the face and hands of Europeans who contracted malaria. It's a sign of chronic illness. Lucas, not for the lack of trying. I have faced malaria quite a lot. I've just been lucky. Either that or my liver is made of steel. Edward laughs again. No such luck here. My liver's destroyed. Tidak apa. It's life. Tidak apa is Malay for it doesn't matter. So obviously he's not Malay, right? But obviously they live locally, so they may have started using some of the language. I was in the Navy myself, you know. Loon. Lucas, you'll like that story. Uncle Bon was a hero. Lucas, is he? Edward. It was in the Sunning, 1926. The Sunning was a steamship that was hijacked by pirates in 1926. Lucas. The Sunning. The officers took that ship back with boiling water and fire axes. Edward rolls up his sleeves to reveal a nasty scald scar. Edward. Boiling water, yes. We did what we had to do. Lucas nods, a grim respect forming. Do you know what happened in 27? The Royal Navy cleared out Bias Bay. Most of the fishermen, whether guilty of piracy or not, were massacred in the area. I was but a midshipman on the HMS Hermes. It was my first posting. Bias Bay is a hidden cove by the coast of Guangdong. It served as a pirate republic during the piracy golden age. So yes, we're getting more historical references here. Edward, I heard about the 27 operation. That must have been a sight. Loon, Lucas, you're here too. I knew it. In the corner, Teresa sits quietly nursing her drink. Dieter leans over to her. Dieter, this social dinner reminds me of the old days, Teresa. Before the Great War, when the German plantations reigned supreme. Teresa, Dieter, when are you going to tell them? Dieter, not so loud, they'll hear you. Teresa, they deserve to know. Keeping what you told me on the lawn earlier a secret is indefensible. Dieter, I would have thought that all of you people would understand. Why should I tell them? Dieter, let's change the subject. I can feel others staring to listen in. Jiro, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Okay, so Teresa and Dieter met on the lawn to discuss something in some hours before dinner. Across the table, Rose Goodwill and Vitalina Petrovsky are pouring wine for Cynthia Seville. Vitalina, drink, darling. It will help you relax. The spirits cannot speak if the vessel is tense. Rose, tell us more about your travels. It must be so exciting to be a lady solicitor in the city. Cynthia, oh, it's mostly paperwork, but the journey here from Sandakan was eventful. Lucas, turning his head. I'm sorry to interrupt, Miss Seville. Did you say you came all the way from Sandakan? Cynthia, why yes, on the Strait steamship. The Strait steamship was the main route for the Goodwill to transport goods and people from the mainland to Borneo. It was a regular route, but it was also a target for pirates. That unlocks the land below the wind in the glossary. You sail 20 hours from Sandakan to Tavao past the pirate-infested waters of the Sulu Sea for a lady that is remarkably intrepid or positively foolhardy. Cynthia blushes under his scrutiny. Cynthia, I was under Jeremiah's protection, naturally. His legal affairs required my attention, and I considered it merely a matter of duty. Loon, I visited Sandakan with father on several occasions. It is a grand place. I've never seen such a spectacle of a harbor. Lucas, with all due respect, Loon, Sandakan wears a different face depending on whether one frequents the governor's set or not. They say it boasts more millionaires than any city on earth, but the gilding is quite thin. There's a great deal of squalor once you leave the cliffside bungalows. Lucas is correct, though I shouldn't change a thing. I should never have met my intended otherwise. Rose, your intended? You are spoken for then. Yes, because Rose thinks that her husband, Jeremiah, is lining up Cynthia as his next wife. So this is quite the information for her. Cynthia, yes, I'm due to be married when I return to the city. I've only been away 48 hours and I confess, I miss him dreadfully. Rose Goodwill turns to Vitalina and smiles. Rose, I'll drink to that. Vitalina, to the lovers. Then something happens suddenly. A loud crash and gasp and someone new enters. Their aura is very strong, but also very dark. I do not know them. Who is it? Oh, something new is happening, right? Because the only two people that are therefore not on this dinner are Kanan and Aisyah that we know of that are in the plantation. So someone new entering, and we don't know who that is, just bursting into the dining room. That's something new and potentially dangerous that may explain what happened to all of those people, what happened to this family. But this is something we're going to try and figure out next time. Before this finishes up, I'm going to do a quick scroll through the glossary. I'm not going to read this all out loud, but if you want to pause the video and learn about the historical aspects, you can just pause and read the interesting bits. And then let me know in the comments what you think about how this story is unfolding. And if you enjoyed this one, consider liking or subscribing. Thank you to channel members for supporting the channel. And I will see you soon on another adventure.